Greetings, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White. I'm so super thrilled and excited to be here with you guys today. I am so just eager to get this next guest on the podcast today. But before I get started with you guys, just a couple of announcements. First off, the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White, it will be featured on Swain Girl Media channel, hosted by Precious Swain on Firestick. Okay, so feel free to reach out to Precious to get more information on that. And thanks so much, Precious, for your support. Further, if you want to be featured on the Let's Get Gritty podcast, okay, this is your turn to shine. I want you to send me an email and a photo and a bio, okay, at india.white.123@gmail.com. Okay, now the next bit of information is I want you to follow me on social media. Let's connect. Some of you have some amazing projects coming out, and I would love to just be a part. And so some of my social media information, if you want to just, connect with me, Facebook is Miss India White. My LinkedIn channel is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. I have two Twitters, Indie Speak and Teach. And if you're trying to get a Twitter for education, for the work that I do with Big Ideas Learning, National Geographic Learning, then you can go to iWhiteBIL. And then my Instagram is Indie238. And my YouTube channel is India White 123, where I have so many different cool things going on. And you really just get to see another side of me, whether it's motivating you or gardening or talking about education, equity, and more. So with that said, I want to now also remind you guys to check out my website at www.india-white.com for blogs, books, and to schedule me for your next speaking or coaching event. Now that I've got all of that out of the way, I am super thrilled to bring on to the show today an amazing rock star, TEDx speaker, and entrepreneur. He is covered so many different hats of leadership. He's doing a phenomenal job. So with that said, guys, please, please, please help me welcome to the Let's Get Gritty podcast, Elgin Kerlock. How's it going, Elgin? Welcome.
Wonderful, wonderful. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. We are so thankful to have you on the Let's Get Gritty podcast. So with that said, now, Elgin, not everybody knows how great you are like we do. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from Washington, D.C., lived in Atlanta for 23 years before I moved here to Central Florida. My background is 20 plus years of retail management. And then about 11 years ago, I started my own firm to help entrepreneurs build better strategies, because I really realized over the years that entrepreneurship can be very unfair, because you generally get caught by what you don't know. Right. And so we wanted to create an opportunity to teach people how to just build better relationships. And through that part, you end up taking care of a lot of the problems that we face socially, mentally, just to energize people to really understand that every time you engage with someone, there's an opportunity for you to exchange and actually change each other's lives.
I love that, and the reason why I love this is because there's power in collaboration. And that is how we make things happen. It's when we stick together, we are better together. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And so you spoke a little bit about this. And so what is the name of your business, Elgin?
My company is called Review Business Strategies, and it's Re-View, because I want you to take another look. See, you had a vision when you started it.
Yeah.
But we come in and we help you, because typically our best customer, or the customer that we help the most, is someone who's reached first stage growth. Like they can pay themselves and they actually have a few employees, and now they want to get to the next level. So I said, okay, so let's review where you're trying to go. And then we help them with the visioning, we help them with the scaling. And I mean, we do soup to nuts, right? So I've even had restaurants that I negotiated their contracts with their food suppliers. I mean, whatever facet is necessary, we build the strategies to where they're trying to go.
This is fantastic. And so you talked about you're from Washington, D.C., and you're doing all this stuff. And the thing I love about what you're saying is I can sense the passion. Like you're the real deal. You're not just coming up here telling us all this fluffy stuff. Like I can tell you've got some time in this. You've got the data. So I know that took some grit. And of
Yes.
course, the show is Let's Get Gritty. So talk to us. First off, how do you define grit?
I define grit as scuffed up knees and elbows, right? That you've lived enough life that to get a few scrapes, and those
Yes,
scrapes didn't stop you though. That
right,
the intensity of your drive exceeded all of the barriers that got in the way, and
right.
so that internal fortitude is always the foundation for greatness, and that to me
Wow.
that's what grit is.
I love it. Great resilience in time. And
That's
so,
right.
talk to me about this great resilience in time and maybe a professional time when you yourself, Elgin, had to use grit.
Probably when I first started to work in corporate America, to get used to the fact that I was generally the only one who looked like me. So
Yeah.
a quick story is I was going the company I used to work for. I went to the home office up in New Hampshire, and I'm walking through the facility, and everybody's like, hey Elgin," and I've never
Wow.
been there before, and I'm trying to figure out how does everyone know my name. So I get to the main conference hall, and I open the door. Now remember, there's 106 managers in there, and
Yeah.
I'm the only African. I'm like, oh, so that's how they know. But as I ascended in my management skills over the years, there were so many times where all of my direct reports didn't look like me, and it
Yeah.
it took a lot of resilience to build
Yes.
the relationships to make them comfortable enough from taking direct a report from someone that they've never had to before.
Yes. Talk
Yeah.
about that emotional grit because, I'm going to say something here. Seeing that, you're the only one that looks like you, culturally, you're different, just appearance wise, you're different. There could be this assumption that you would have been a victim and that, you weren't treated fairly and you've undergone some things, possibly, some biases or some other things that you might have endured, maybe some hint of racism or whatever. I don't know. People might say, oh, well, you endured this, so there's no way that you could have been successful because, woe is you. The chips are stacked against you. But you have shown us here that you were the only one, yet you were still successful. So talk about the emotional element of grit that you used to have that resilience in time so that you could be effective for that company.
Absolutely, and I think it all stems from my mother, because my mom told me when I was little that I could be whatever I want, and I was foolish enough to believe her.
Yeah,
So even when people told me what I couldn't, if you wanted to see me do something, tell me that I couldn't.
I love it. I
Okay, and
love it.
so I went to work for a department store once, and they told me that the toughest part of their store was this part over here, and I didn't have enough experience to do that, and I said, all right, so let me have it for 6 months. Long story
Wow.
short, a year later, I got an award from the CEO for sales 385%
Oh,
above the previous year.
oh my goodness. Congratulations. I
but
love
but
it.
it was that so that
Yeah.
everything that you insist on, like you said. So when I said to the people who dress the mannequins, I dress my own mannequins, and they're like, wait a minute, that's what we get paid to do. Not here.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I had to take control, and so again, they're looking at me like, so who are you who is
Yeah.
this guy?
Yeah.
Right. But having that fortitude and that understanding
Grit.
that if I control my outcome, even if I fail, it's at my hands and not
I love
yours.
it. I absolutely love that. And I think that when you're talking about grit and controlling your own outcome, that is everything. It eliminates the excuses. It's the ability to eliminate excuses. You shove your excuses for complacency to the side until you
Yes.
achieve beyond your greatest desire, which is what I talked about in my TED talk, The Power of Grit. And so talk to us now about, when you are using grit and you're trying to take control of your own situation. However, what if you're going through hopelessness? So talk to us about those, whether it's professionally or they're going through something emotionally or in their family. How do they thrive through grit, or through hopelessness using grit?
Sure. And so sometimes resilience can come from a release, right? So I discovered when I was in retail, which is very stressful from the management side. And you mentioned the Discovery Channel. I used to work in the Discovery Channel for their retail stores,
Yeah.
which
Wow.
end up in the Nat Geo family.
Yeah. Wow.
And
Very
one of the things that I found out was bowling, because I could throw whenever I got stressed out, I could throw that ball as
nice.
hard as I wanted to, and the pins couldn't get out the way. Right, so it became a release,
You were
and then
flinging that ball across the pole.
that's it, right? It didn't really care about the score. It was just knocking over the pins that looked like the person who was on my nerves. But yeah, but the other thing now, as I'm older, for me now, it's music. So
Ah, I like it.
hopelessness really comes from unmet expectations. But the
Wow.
problem is, so many times we have expectations that are unreasonable. And then when we don't achieve them, we start to beat ourselves up. It's those quiet voices that you hear when you're alone about, well, you're this age now and you should really have this.
Oh,
You should really have that. And I can't believe
wow.
that we're here now. For me, I can put my headphones on and allow the music to
Beautiful.
soothe those voices. And for as long as it takes, my wife will tell you there are days I could sit there for 3 hours
Yeah.
listening to music because I need to recenter. Because if you don't, that hopelessness will turn into apathy, and that apathy will turn into inactivity, and
Wow.
then it really compounds itself from there.
This is so powerful. I'm so happy you're talking about an outlet, and that this is one way people can really kind of reset and get their grit again.
Mhm.
Whether it's, like you said, music or going to the beach. Like, I like to garden. So I
Mhm.
will put some corny, video together about gardening, to, I don't know, potatoes or something. Because, like, to me, like, when I get those voices of, oh, you're not what you should be, or you're a failure, or I don't know, well, I can't imagine, some voices that other people might hear as well, but we all have those voices of where they try to bring that humiliation, or they try to make you feel like you're rejected, or you're a nobody, or you haven't accomplished enough, or you just won't fit in, all these things. But like you said, it's and I think of gardening, and how I'm able to give back and use that energy, to bring more life, and to bring, just more, and so
Yeah.
I just think it's beautiful that you're talking about that. And so it also kind of ties into a spiritual aspect as well, when you're trying to bounce back from hopelessness. And
Oh,
so,
for sure.
yeah, so talk to us about now, a spiritual time when you
Mhm.
use grit, someone as successful as yourself.
Well, the thing is when you consider it from the spiritual point, the best tool that Satan has is doubt.
Mm,
He doesn't have to get you to afflict you. I don't have to make your car crash. All I have to do is get you to doubt. Because
woo,
if you doubt, you'll pull up when things get tight. You'll pull up when the hill starts to go up. You'll pull up when it starts to get a little hot. So that's all he needs to do. And then the other side
wow.
of it is that we have to remember that the spiritual grit is all about God telling you that he's already lost.
Yeah.
Why are you listening to that clown? You need to
Yeah.
tell him to get to
Excellent.
stepping. You have no place
Yeah,
here. But
that's
you have
right.
to have the grit to be able to resist the things
Right.
that he'll send, and there aren't always a bad thing, because
Right.
I explained to my students. I've been teaching adult Sunday school for about 25 years. I said, you do
Wow.
understand that on earth he can give you anything, like anything. You want a
Yeah.
Maserati? Here's a Maserati. You want a 5,000 square foot house? Here. Because he knows that if you're on his plan, you're certainly not on God's plan.
Right.
So he
That's
doesn't have to do
powerful.
anything bad to get you there. But where the grit comes is that that you now say, okay, this thing came to me unexpectedly and it's wonderful. Who did it come from?
Yo, right.
Who did it come from? And sometimes we won't question. We just like, oh, the Lord just blessed me, and there's the God looking at you like, I ain't had nothing to do with that.
I have nothing to do with it. It goes silent. It goes silent. Oh my gosh, doubt. So how then do people push through doubt with the help of grit?
By understanding the fourth letter, time, right? Things happen in seasons. So understand that you may be in a season of doubt. You may be in a season where you're just going, how in the world did I get here?
Yeah.
Okay. And the resilience to understand that for whatever duration this is, it came to pass. It's not going to be permanent, right? And and
Wow.
and but as we grow, both intellectually and spiritually, we understand that the resolution may not be what we expected. You know, we pray for a loved one who's inflicted with a disease, but if the Lord comes and gets them, that is a solution to that problem. Not the
Right.
one we would have preferred, but a solution nonetheless. But understand that everything runs its course. So the
Right.
resilience in time is really what is going to be necessary for you to get through that doubt.
This is beautiful. And it it really makes me think of people that, they don't think they're going to get that promotion. They don't think they're going to be able to get that house. They don't think they'll be able to get married. They don't think they'll be able to get that car. Or they don't think they'll be able to finish that assignment or finish school. I remember when I was finishing schooling at University of Florida, go Gators, I didn't think I would be able to finish my dissertation. It was so overwhelming. And I had one night where I had only maybe 80 something pages of my dissertation finished because I did chapters 1 through 3. For those that know, you understand.
Oh yeah.
But then it's those last couple chapters where you really got to start looking through that, and then of course looking at your research review or your literature review, all this. But long story short, I remember that one night something clicked. Boom! I think it was grit and faith, and I wrote easily over 100 something pages to where my
Wow.
dissertation went from 88 pages to 222 pages. And then, of course, I had to bring it down to 160 something pages.
Mhm.
But I'm saying that because in the time when it was 88 pages, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, I can't do this. My mom was dying. And then I was trying to bury her and deal with raising children by myself and all this. And I know I'm getting a little personal, but I'm only saying this because
Mhm.
that doubt kicked in, and
Yep.
that lack of self-confidence of I just can't do this. And then of course people saying, what are you doing? Why did you sign up for this? You
Mhm.
did this to yourself. You laid in that bed. Now you gotta, you made that bed. Now you gotta lay in it, kind of thing. And it just makes you feel sometimes like, I don't know if I can persist. I don't know if I can overcome. So I'm happy that you spoke about, overcoming doubt and persisting, that resilience in time, looking at the big picture, not looking at just that one moment, And so, with that said, that now makes me ask another question to you, and that's going to be when it comes down to utilizing grit for success. And I kind of want you to shift this now, if you would, towards talking about also your career and what you do now. But when it comes down to utilizing grit for success, what advice would you give to a listener?
Don't be afraid to be great,
Mm, wow.
because that is where you're going to find the most resistance. Even among your family and friends. If you
Wow.
dare to be great and you have discipline and you have purpose and you have focus, all of a sudden you're going to be uppity, and you think
Ah,
you're right, and listen to the way you talk. Who talks that way?
oh my
And
word.
and heaven
I've
forbid
heard
you
you
throw
say
out
that.
a multisyllabic word, right? So
Oh my goodness.
dare to be great, and then always feed that greatness. Uh,
Wow.
I read a lot for my profession, so I don't read as much for
Stand-up
leisure.
and all that. Oh,
But I watch videos all of the time because I'm always trying to feed my
yeah.
greatness.
Beautiful.
Because if you're not growing, guess what? You're shrinking.
Yeah.
And and then the resilience comes in for the fact that you're going to do it when you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the real mark of your character. And that's the
Beautiful.
real
Wow.
mark of grit. Getting up and going to the gym at 7 o'clock when I went to bed at 2.
Right. Beautiful. And I think when you're talking about don't be afraid to be great, especially in particular communities, there's just a lack of grit in some of those communities because there's a fear of being great because you've been told that you have to respect the hierarchy. And so you don't want to outshine somebody that didn't quite do it. Like, for instance, I know of people and even myself where, you're going to be first generation because maybe someone in that family, didn't persist and go above and beyond. So then when you do go back home to visit, it's kind of awkward because you're kind of on this branch out there by yourself. And so people can think, like you said, oh, you're uppity. Who do you think you are? Or if you start pitching business ideas to people who are like, who are you? You're only supposed to just remain here at this level. Or, you start pitching other opportunities, or you start doing that. I remember I was talking to somebody about, when I was an administrator, and I was talking to someone about wanting to shine. And when I said that, I said, I just want to shine. I want to help people shine. I want us to shine. And that's always been my heartbeat. I want to lift up. I want to shine, right? I want people to shine. And the person told me, and they said, India, never say shine. Just don't say that. That just sounds wrong. And, you're just not going to get far with that. Long story short, that person and I, we weren't on the same wavelength. We just didn't see eye to eye about life, about future. So moving forward, I couldn't get off the word shine. So I started looking, I said, are there any businesses that help girls with shining and all this? And sure enough, I found a nonprofit that helps girls shine. So I was able to actually speak for that nonprofit and help them with planning some of the curriculum that they do for girls. And it was a wonderful organization, but they are thriving as they're helping girls shine. And so I say that because sometimes we sit on these ideas that are going to connect us to greater ideas than ourselves and greater pockets of people, pockets of collaboration than we are on our own. I'll never forget reaching out and being able to do the little projects I did with India, the beautiful women in India that were, all about beauty and pageantry and stuff. And they're doing some phenomenal things now. But I had a wonderful season with them. And it was because my name was India and because they believed, and wanting to be able to be confident and to speak. And so I say that because, so many times people sit on their greatness because they're afraid to be great. And so with that said, how can you cultivate a culture of grit in communities?
By getting involved. Because each of us have been given a gift. And unlike a talent that you hone, a gift is innate, right? It was, but it's more importantly for someone else. Yeah. So if your gift is encouragement, then you can go to the nonprofit, the local Boys and Girls Club, your son's baseball team, and encourage. But through that encouragement, you teach them about what resilience actually is, right? So if you picture it like a palm tree, whenever you see the hurricanes go through, they go back and forth, but it's very seldom you see them get pulled out of the ground. Okay, they are able to deal with a huge amount of wind, and so as we are coaching people and talking people and encouraging people, we're telling them, listen, it could bend you all the way to the ground. It just don't break you. Okay, and as we get that to be the pervasive thought, especially in communities that are underserved, then what happens is it triggers curiosity, and because now. I know when I was a kid, I'd be riding my bike through different neighborhoods, and I'd always wonder, where does that street go? And where does that street go? And so I would just ride my bike in these places and get lost, right? Because I was just curious.
I would be lost if I did that.
But when we create that culture where they understand that part of your greatness is the willingness to learn things new and the willingness to make mistakes and the willingness to get up and brush yourself off and do it again, our whole community begins to thrive, because now I'm going to wonder how I can help you.
That part.
Mm-hmm.
See, we need more of that mindset. I think there's too much fear to share, because it's like, well, if I share with you, you're going to take it and run with it. And then I'm going to be stuck here in the dirt, and betrayed and all this. We need more trust in our communities. We need more opportunity to collaborate. But there has to be, especially in underserved communities and in communities, BIPOC communities, people of color, whatever. I think in these communities, we have to kind of let go of some of the things that have taken place in the past, and some of the mindsets of you can't share, you can't do, you can't collaborate. Like, we've got to start looking at some people that did make a difference, like hidden figures. That's why we're on the moon. That's why, we have a GPS system. That's why we have so many different things.
That's right.
Because some of us are rising up and saying it is okay to collaborate. It is okay to trust. And it is okay to collaborate and be among others who are just as great and greater than you.
And understanding
or together.
And understanding that failure is a part of greatness. Thomas Edison said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work.
Beautiful. It's the perception of it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so with that said, you talk about so many of these different things that, would help in these communities. And so I kind of have a question for you regarding, so then how are you able to kind of use all of your journey, your experience as an educational leader? How were you able to use that and help others? And how did G.R.I.T help you?
So the interesting thing is where you become most effective as an educator, whether it's by vocation or just that you have circles of influence that you help people out. It's the experiences that you've gone through in life is where G.R.I.T is born, because there are things that stopped you, and there were things that you said, you know what, this isn't going to stop. When I was 7 years old, I was hit by a car, knocked me, way down, broke my femur in half.
Oh my goodness.
And my doctor told my mother that I would always have one foot would be shorter than the other. I'd have to wear one of the shoes that had the extra. I'd never play sports. I'd probably walk with a limp and all that. And my mom said, for the next year and a half, I watched my son pretty much tell that doctor, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Right.
And I've played every sport. I don't have a limp. My legs are both the same length.
Wow.
And the doctor said to me, I've never seen anybody that determined.
Beautiful.
But the thing is through that experience, I got to learn a lot of things, because even as young as 7 years old, having to spend the entire summer in a hospital looking out the window at the kids playing, and I couldn't do that, taught me how to know who Elgin is, and for Elgin to be okay with being alone, and that I didn't miss out. And so my teachers would bring me books, and so I started to read, and so that helps you move through all of the stages of your life. And then as an intellectual or as an individual, as you begin to open yourself up to learning new things, the resilience come from the ability to add to your repertoire. So now I love when I hit something that I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it allows me to grow as a person, and then allow me to be able to talk to other people who are going through the same thing.
Beautiful. Right. And so you even spoke in your TEDx, your TEDx, you spoke about engage. And I want you to kind of talk to us a little bit about the title of your TEDx talk, and what the point, like what the main point of the talk was for the audience. Just because I want them to know that about you, and then just the grit that it took for you to put all that together.
Sure. So the name of the talk was The Relationships We Build. And it kind of was born because my wife and I made the decision that she was going to leave her firm and come work in the family business. And even though I'd had the company for 10 years, having to quantify what I actually did to someone who hasn't been involved was really a challenge. And so as I began to think about it and pray about it and meditate about it, uh, Engage was born. It was, all right, so what I actually do is help people build better relationships. And the relationships could be between your product and the community, you and your workers, you and your suppliers, that it all works together. And so each of the letters in the acronym that spell out engage are a different facet for you to consider whenever you engage someone. And I don't care if you're in that person's face for just 3 minutes. If I take the opportunity to be empathetic, if I take the opportunity to not be judgmental, if I take the opportunity to help you because I can, right? Then that whole interaction changes. And then what happens is once you gain that, the grit of it all is that in every situation, even when somebody's getting on your nerves, you need to be engaged. Even when that cop pulls you over, you need to be thinking, all right, let me look at this from his point of view.
But didn't you share a story like that? I think you shared a story like that, how you used engage with the interaction with the law enforcement.
It was with the Klansman.
Oh my gosh. So tell us a little bit about that again. So it's
absolutely. So I was working in a little small town in Georgia in a retail store, a mattress store to be exact. And this gentleman walks in and he has on the jeans and the plaid shirt and the cowboy boots and the bent bill cap and a huge Ku Klux Klan belt buckle.
Oh my God.
So yeah, he told me he was looking for a mattress for his daughter. And you know what? We just started talking about dads because it turns out that his daughter was about the same age as my daughter at the time. And we were just laughing about a 10-year-old girl and all of the stuff that she has to do. And so as he pulled around front and I'm loading the mattress into his truck, he said, you've got to be the most intelligent color fella I ever talked to. And I said, how many color fellas have you talked to?
Yeah.
He's like, good point. And the cool part is that by being curious, by being open to something new, I really wanted to show him that I know what you expected to happen when you came in here. But instead, I can give you energy that takes it in home. He even waved to me as he drove out of the parking lot.
The beautiful part is everybody would have assumed, that you would have probably started like picketing and protesting and being upset and saying that was your just main enemy because he had a KKK belt. And I mean, he's just basically blatantly telling you, this is my stance. But because you met him with an energy of love and engage, you gained a friend. And so I want the audience to kind of keep that in mind, that just because, we're surrounded by things or culture experiences or whatever that might make us a little bit uncomfortable, or it might just scream at us, this is not you, this is opposition. It might not be. I want to challenge people like you did to take grit with them into those situations. You took grit and you were curious and you said, no, I'm going to find a way to connect with this man. You didn't have to.
That's
you could
right.
have ignored him. You could have just been like, whatever. But you took grit. You cultivated grit enough to build a relationship with someone that society said was your archenemy.
That's right.
I commend you for that. And so with that said, what advice do you have for people to be able to do the same as they're, implementing your steps here of engage? How can they do that to build relationships effectively?
Two words: slow down. Okay, we're so quick to jump to a conclusion. We're so quick to be offended. We're so quick to believe that we're being disserved. Here's a quick funny story for you. I was sitting in a restaurant with a friend of mine, and we were having some buffalo wings, and he asked the waitress, could he have another blue cheese? And she said, sure, but it's 50 cents. And he said, I bet you if I was white, you'd have gave it to me free. And he stormed out. And so she's standing there wondering, what just happened? What just happened? And so finally he comes back in and he sits down And I point to him on the menu. I said, it says right here.
Yes,
It
thank you.
says for the blue cheese. But since he had decided that he wanted
Yeah.
to be offended before something happened,
Oh my goodness.
he
And he
absolutely
is a
found the
victim.
reason to be. And
And
even though it was right there on the menu.
right. See, now this is what I want to talk about as well. Being able to take events and oppositions and offenses and to use that energy to build your greatness through engage and through grit instead of being a victim. So becoming a victor. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and that mindset?
Yes. And that's what I like so much about the whole concept of grit, because that resilience allows you to see past what's
Yes.
right in front of you. And that's why in time is so relevant, right? I mean,
Right.
that moment may have been something that you even perceived was something that it wasn't there. It's like in what I found in corporate. If you look at my name, Elgin Kellogg, nothing about that says that I'm Black. Okay,
Right.
and so a lot of my correspondences are by email. So when I get to someone's office, here's how you know that they are surprised. Oh, you're Elgin, right? Now I can take that in a way that would offend me because
Yeah.
you made that differentiation, or I can look at it and say, "Man, I can take this opportunity to absolutely change what you
Right.
thought you knew about
Exactly.
somebody in my field who looks like me."
But and I'm gonna kind of joke. My last name's White, right? So I've had a blast with this.
Yes.
So to me, I love it when people are asking me my name. They're like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "India." Last name White, and they just kind of look up, like, But I learned to joke about it and have a great sense of humor.
Well,
So
and that's it and that's why I said slow down, right? Because
yeah,
like sometimes something else, especially a guy, you go somewhere and maybe you'll be in a group of white people or any other race, and they'd be like, "Yo, what's up, bro?" And he started giving me a hand, just to like soul shake kind of thing. So I mess with him. I'd be like, and they're looking at me like I don't know what to do. But instead of being offended, I lean into it, and they looking at me, and then I start laughing, and then they start laughing.
I love it.
Because I'm telling you, it doesn't take all that, man. I mean, it's good. It's good. Just be a great human being, and we'll get along fine.
Right. You don't gotta bust out the collard greens and mac and cheese.
Exactly.
Let's just be cool here and let's collaborate. So
or is it? I mean, can I tell you the stares I get when I go to the sushi restaurant and that I actually know how to use chopsticks?
right. And I think it's amazing you said that. Like, my son is obsessed with chopsticks to the point that I had to buy him a metal pair of chopsticks because he loves eating chopsticks. So I think that's great that you're saying that, because it does kind of break off those kind of biases and those stereotypical barriers of like, listen, we're in this thing together. Like, we're human just like you. We're enjoying ourselves just like you. We're here in America. We're American. We're loving it just like you. We're not oppressed. We're not victims. And I think that it takes a lot of engage principles of the engage concept with grit to really get to that mindset. So I think that's
but
great.
if I can add something right quick, and sorry to interrupt you, is that grit also mandates that you do be corrective, though. If they do cross the line, that you professionally and caringly and engage, right?
Yeah.
But they need to know, no, we don't really go that route. Let's rethink what you said. But don't do it in anger, and don't do it, in a belligerent manner, but be very firm to let them understand that, this okay, so what you just said, let's take a look at that. And when you do it that way, many times what you find is that they just haven't had enough interaction to know that they shouldn't have said it.
And that they're offending, and that's what I talk about in the work I do as an author, as a math author, textbook author. I talk about some of those things, like, sometimes because there has not been exposure, there has not been a relationship with other cultures, there are going to be offenses. Offenses must come, but that doesn't mean that you have to, pull out, your weapons and go crazy. No, it's a part of understanding of really that multiculturalism, that cross-cultural communication, interhumanism, being able to really connect with people and say, you know what, I'm going to give you I'm going to give you another chance, or I'm going to let that slide and take one for the team because you're learning. Yep. When are we going to open up the opportunities to learn again about culture? Right. I remember my mentor, I love her to death, and I love her husband. And, they're like family to me. And when I first started going to her home when I was a teen, they asked me, and they are Caucasian, they asked me so many questions about my hair, about food I liked, about, entertainers I preferred, because they just didn't know. Some of the questions I would, in my mind, process and say, did he really ask me that question about my hair? Did they really, but then I use that kind of that engage principle of, okay, I'm not going to be judgmental. I'm going to give them an opportunity. I'm going to look into this. I'm going to be an active listener and help them understand, so that the questions, they understand why I have to put grease in my hair, for instance, understanding that my hair type, we need oils in our hair, and grease is one of the oils that has been proven to grow my type of hair. Understanding the coil of our hair versus, the straight, hair, European type hair. Hair is hair. It's not bad. It's just different, and so because, I was able to use that kind of engage principle, I was able to help them. So I think this is beautiful that you're talking about, whether it's using chopsticks or it's just having those interactions, especially corporate level. Do you have any advice for people of color that are first generations climbing up the corporate ladder, getting managerial positions and whatnot, and they are having these conversations and they're walking away feeling like it's microaggression, but it really is just a situation that they need to just kind of slow down enough and have the right perception? So what advice do you have to these successful leaders that are in that boat?
First of all, knowledge is power. Okay, so as you begin to ascend, know everything, or as much as you possibly can, about where you're headed. Because what happens is, as you meet that level, and that person who's not encountered someone who looked like you on their equal, right? Before, maybe everybody who looked like you worked for them, and now you're an equal, and they're wondering, is this an affirmative action thing? Is this how'd you get here?
Merit.
And so you must make sure that you are prepared to make that journey. And after just a few moments, okay, as I said, oh, you're Elgin, but we talk for like 5 minutes, and then they understand who I am, and then all that goes away, right? And then that's just it. And then also, just as you said a moment ago, to have the grit to, when someone does say something, you don't have to go off on them right there, but certainly do not let them end that day without understanding. And then you also have to be a student, because I know that when my biggest break in corporate America was when my boss said, "Hey, I want to promote you to this position that I was totally not qualified for." But he said, a person with your personality, I think you're going to learn everything. And so he gave me a shot. But to this very day, when I posted my TED Talk on LinkedIn, he commented, he says, you make me look so smart for ever bringing you into this company. And I said, but you don't understand that I am who I am partly because you gave me a shot at something I wasn't qualified for, but you understood that I had the grit to make sure that I deserve your trust.
I love it. And I love that, yes, there were differences, but the differences didn't stop you guys from collaborating, building a phenomenal relationship, and doing some great, wonderful business adventures together. So I commend you on that. And I compliment you on the fact that you were, pitched for that, because I know CEOs are very wise, and they know what they need to make their company go forward. So the fact that you were pitched, I know, and I know firsthand with your personality that you would be golden for any company. So I think it's beautiful that you are also doing your Review Business Strategies company, helping so many, entrepreneurs, small business owners getting started and beyond. And so with that said, Elgin, this has been an honor just having you on the show. Do you have any
so
last minute tips for people that are just trying to figure life out, trying to figure out how to be gritty in their way of work, in their future destinies, and more?
Simply stated, don't quit.
Hmm.
Don't quit. I mean, that's what resilience is about. Is that, that great song from the 80s, I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Okay.
That's it. That kind of drive will allow you to learn, because when you encounter things that are less than desirable, you can stand there and protest, you can stand there and fuss, you can stand there, or you can keep moving.
That's
Make
right.
notes, understand it. See, because when you learn from it, when you see it coming again, it doesn't get all the way to you, because you're
Right.
like, oh, I know this song. Okay, I
Yeah.
know how this goes.
Right. Oh my gosh. And you don't have to fry every fish.
That's right.
But I think it's beautiful, the advice that you just gave. Don't quit, keep moving. I think
Yes, ma'am.
everyone needs to hear this and kind of own that. And so, again, Elgin, it has been a high honor to have you on the show. So,
Thank you
with
so
that
much.
said, we want to definitely make sure that we keep in touch with you. If you guys have just joined the show or whatnot, Elgin is an amazing business strategist. He is a speaker, motivational speaker, an author, entrepreneur, and a TEDx speaker. And so with that said, if you are wanting to connect with Elgin, we're going to now put his information up. So Elgin, can you share with us your contact information for those that are wanting to connect with you, whether you come in to speak or help them with their business strategies, or, some contractual work, some projects or whatnot? How can we reach you?
Absolutely. So you can go to our website, which is www.re-viewyourbusiness.com. But LinkedIn is probably your best contact for me, because it is the one that I check the most often.
Okay.
And if not, you can email me at elgin.carelock@gmail.com.
Now,
But
is your LinkedIn, is it your name?
yes, it's me.
Okay.
Yes, because I want you to know who I am before we have to. If we have any engagement on me helping you, you need to understand who you're dealing with, right? Because
Right.
I am going to offend you, I am going to make you mad, but I also make you successful.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm so honored to be connected with you, Elgin. Many great, great projects and work to come. So
Yes, yes.
again, thank you so much
Thank you.
for just everything and being on the show. So guys, listen, you have his contact information. You don't want to sleep on this. If you are a business owner, don't sleep on this. Definitely take advantage of this opportunity. So you've got his contact information here on LinkedIn, Elgin Carelock. His email is elgin.carelock@gmail.com. And so with that said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Let's Get Gritty podcast. It has been absolutely phenomenal. And until next time, stay gritty. Take care, guys.
Thank
Thank you.
you.